Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the end show. That's what it's called, right? So the name of the show? To the end?
Yes.
Yes, to the end. Yes,
I thought
welcome
it was
back.
at the beginning.
At the beginning. From
Don't
the beginning.
purposely confuse us, Pad Save.
It's what I do.
Return greetings to the beginning. From the beginning. Anyway, I am your host, Duhad, as this is the magical month of October, when spooky Halloween things are not really super present until like the end of the month, but I don't care. It's Halloween. It's Halloween month. I'm joined by my spooky co-hosts, Pad, Ghoul Save,
Boo.
Can I be non-chromancer?
Non-Chromancer! I was going to say Scoony or something, Spookny or something, but that's way better. Nonimancer. Love it. Alright.
Yay!
So along with my ghastly cohorts, we're going to entertain you with frightening tales and random thoughts about daily life and history and all the like that we normally go by.
Yay!
But let's begin by just recapping what's been going on with us recently. Pat, say, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I have been waking up and I have been going to work, and apparently we are getting a cat on Tuesday.
Oh my god, really?
Yay!
Yes.
That's great. Well, do you have a name for him or her?
Yeah, its current name is Zen, but we
Zen.
are going to be changing it to Samus.
Amazing. I love it.
That's great. What does little Samus look like?
As far as I've been told, it's just a tiny tabby cat.
Well, tabby cats are adorable.
The
So
tabbies are so cute.
I'm very much in favor of this new cat addition to the Pat family.
It will be kind of on a trial basis first, because I guess the shelter has like a 2-week kind of trial period and make sure things work out. And
That's actually pretty good. I appreciate that. There's a lot of places that are just sort of like, animal, throw it at this person, try not to return it, because otherwise we're going to just like toss it in a much smaller box or something horrible. So it's nice to know that they actually are taking into consideration the safety of the animal and the living situation. But I am positive that you're going to rock cat ownership, my friend.
well, I'm just more worried about it getting along with the dog. So
It's always what is the name of the dog again?
Wyatt.
Wyatt.
But he seems to be friendly. He'll go and try to make friends with just about anything, so it should be good.
If it's anything like what my situation with cats and dogs has usually been like, the cats are going to be profoundly unhappy with the concept of the dog constantly sticking their giant nose in their face, and the dogs are going to love the fact that they have a cat that they can wander around and sniff.
See, my hope is that since the cat is still fairly young, I think it's like 3 months old, that it will learn about being an animal from the dog, so we'll end up having a dog-like cat.
That's pretty good. It's a lot better than a cat-like dog. I've had those before.
What was it? My buddy, I think the order they got animals was they got cats. Then they got like a little dog, and then they got German Shepherds. So the dog learned how to animal from the cat, so you had like a tiny cat-like dog. And then the German Shepherds learned about being a dog from the little dog, so they thought they were little dog-like cats.
So you go
That
jumping
is
up on
amazing.
people. Oh my
Yeah.
If
goodness.
you
That
want a
is-
dog-like cat, though, isn't it best to have a Siamese?
To be fair, actually, my grandparents, or no, my great grandparents on my mother's side, the Gigi's as we called them, had a pair of Siamese cats. And they were great. They were, I know a lot of people there's kind of a stereotype about Siamese that they're kind of high maintenance, that they can be really kind of persnickety, but these were great cats. These were really friendly, really just great animals to
Well,
to
they're
spend time with.
incredibly smart, so you can train them to do tricks like dogs.
Yes. And speaking of none of that, Nani, how's your last couple of weeks been?
I'm okay. I had a cold for a while, and it sucked a lot, and I lost my voice, and that was no fun. But I'm good now, so
Well,
yeah.
I'm glad to know that you're doing well, though it is it's always a shame when you're not feeling so great. Yeah, I can kind of see
That's
it.
my life, though, Duhad.
I know, which is why I'm always so worried. Actually, the funny thing about it is that, like, the picture we have for this show, looking at it, it actually kind of looks a little bit like like you are recovering from like a nasty cold. So you got you've got like little bags in your eyes and bright cheeks and all that.
Wait, where did I put it when I did it?
It is an adorable picture.
I need to draw another one that's slightly better sometime, but I'm not a very good artist overall.
You've got a nice style. Honestly, like a lot of technical details can, be forgiven as long as you do something that looks nice, as opposed to something that's like technically competent but just bland and boring and like has no personality.
This is true.
And like that's not to say that this art is like horrible or flawed or whatever, but like I've seen so many artists who like I have a friend who's an artist on the channel, Belil, who works on a lot of the other videos that go up on this channel, who often kind of downplays how talented she is, and something I kind of feel kind of gets forgotten a lot, like when looking at things and being like, oh, look at this little flaw here, look at this little flaw there, is that like they're interesting, like they're really good, but beyond being good, they're also just like their style, there's finesse, there's like a personal touch to it all. It's not like, and like when she like compares it to like something like I don't know, like those like pictures that people put up on like art sites and Tumblr and DeviantArt and all that stuff, where it's really pretty and it's really nice, but it's always this kind of this very bland, person, like generic fantasy character, generic science fiction character, generic, forest or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
everyone's drawn that. Everybody's drawn that. And everyone's drawn it the exact same way. Like, the technical details might be impressive, but there's no spark there. There's nothing interesting being done there. There's nothing unique. So I take something kind of fun and unique visually over something bland any day of the week.
I agree. I do really like styles that are heavily stylized. But mine is not there yet. I want to work on it more.
That's fair. And hey, don't I always like putting people on a pedestal and being like, you're great, you're awesome. Like don't think too harshly of like any like flaws, because like you're like, you've got some great things going on, but I also want to like kind of not go like, you're perfect, don't try to improve. Like always improve, always try and be better. Like I think that,
I don't suffer from any lack of confidence, so you're all right.
okay, good. I have a lot of people. I know a lot of people who don't have that rather amazing amazing quality of not being totally down on their own work of any sort. Lots of people, lots of different fields. Like Padsave here is confident in his hat wearing capabilities, and with good reason. They are impressive. Not many men can pull off that look, but
Well, I have very few talents. I have to rock the ones that I do have.
boy, you are rocking them. I don't know like anything about how many talents you do or do not have, but I do know that the ones that you do have, that I know about, top tier.
I think it's safe to assume that the ones you know about are about the extent.
May or may not be the case. I personally believe that the wealth of talent and knowledge that you have shown over the years of our acquaintanceship have somewhat belied your lower view of yourself, and the legions of adoring fans worldwide who chant your name in the streets obviously think otherwise.
The Pad Girls! We mustn't forget them.
Can never forget the Pad Girls. They love you, Pad. They love you.
Well, and I'm sure they have good reason to, but you know, for what I do, I think that's about, you know, at least for now, the extent of what I wish to pursue.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know, I can't do everything, you know, so I may as well, you know, the few things I know I can do, just work on those.
That's fair. I mean, like, hey, not everyone is a legendary rock and pop star who, you know, has managed to create an almost cult-like following on every major continent, including Antarctica. So, you know, it's okay if you want to kind of coast on that for a while.
Who is the role model for this?
Wait, who's that?
Who is the role model for this pop star popular in Antarctica?
Oh, well, well, Pad Safe, obviously. You know how many people in Antarctica, ever since Pad really took off, have been wandering around with giant yellow slicker hats on top of their, you know, parkas.
Okay, but I have the question all the Pad Girls have been waiting to have answered.
Mm.
When are we going to make the Pad Safe body pillows?
A question we all want to know the answer to.
Which I forget the Japanese word for. You know what I mean.
Dakimakura?
Oh, Dakimakura! Yes,
There, okay,
thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't know how I feel about this.
It'll be very tasteful, Pad Safe.
I'm imagining the expression on them just being the face in this image right here, just kind of confident.
Yeah, that's what I imagine it's just that image in full body scale, just plastered on a pillow.
It wouldn't be like you in you know, like any sort of compromising position. It wouldn't be you like kind of playing anything up. It's just you, arms folded, kind of this confident smile, just sort of leaning back on the pillow. Like, the idea is you don't lay down with your body pillow of Pad Save. You set it against a wall, and you are inspired by Pad Save's nonchalant presence.
No, Duhad. We could make it so that it looks like it's sitting, and you could take it out with you to cafes.
Yes! Oh, that's perfect.
Have your own pad date.
Oh my god. Everyone wants that. Come on, everybody. You know you want that.
We
Pad
could have one of
dating.
those pop-up cafes with Canadian delicacies. And have a Pad Save cafe.
Just take a handful of what is it called? The fries with
Poutine.
Poutine. That's it. Just a handful of poutine, and you give it to your pad pillow, and you know it's okay. It doesn't want to eat it because it's watching its figure, so it lets you eat it because pad pillow cares. Pad pillow is very attentive.
I would take one up with me. I think that would be an impressive thing. Everyone would be jealous.
Honestly, if I had one, and I'm now dangerously close to thinking about ordering one, I would take it with me to every con I went to from here on out. And anytime anyone asks me, what exactly is that? I just say it's my Pad Save pillow. Look up line. Pad Save. Rocking the free world.
Disclaimer: warranties do not cover gravy stains.
That is true. That is true. You're gonna have to watch that one out yourself. Pad Save. He's watching his diet. He's not gonna eat all of that poutine. So you know, you might end up having to clean up a little bit if you try a little too hard to get him to take a bite of delicious Canadian delicacy.
Delicacy might be a little overkill, but
what would you actually say is like the I like thought of like 13 countries before I remembered Canada, like the name of Canada.
Shame, Duhad.
I genuinely was
I
like,
will revoke your honorary Canadianship.
I know it was like I was trying to think of like Canada. I was like, okay, so what would you think is a genuine Canadian delicacy? And for some reason, my mind was just going like, what is a Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Mongolian, Russian, French, English, Canadian, that's it, delicacy.
My God. Honestly, Canadian cuisine is like really, you know, it's like British cuisine. It's sort of generic and not very interesting.
Right. It's just kind of like
and the fact that a lot of it is dishes that have been brought from other countries. It kind of it's nothing like really quite our own. There's like our own takes and spins on it. Like but I don't know how often you have them, Nani, but donairs.
Oh no, donair is the national food of my area.
Like you know, out east, donairs are huge, but they came from you know, they started as like a lamb dish, kind of like shawarma. But
Yeah.
when they got to the local area trying to do it, and you know, lamb wasn't, you know, as favorable as like meat as like beef. So you know, they ended up altering the recipe and turning it into a beef skewer instead of a lamb skewer. And you know, instead of tzatziki sauce, it was like a new custom sauce that just like
It's
took
condensed
off.
milk.
Yeah, condensed milk, sugar, and vinegar.
huh.
It's amazing. But after that, it
It's
just
completely non-existent in America, which boggles the mind.
so. And then I wouldn't really say it's like a Canadian delicacy because it's more of kind of hung around out in Eastern Canada, like Nova Scotia, New Brunswick kind of area, and like it slowly creeps, but it's not as prevalent. But then you got like poutine, which
I think
is
the only things you could say are like true Canadian food is like native Canadian food.
Fair point.
But
Or-
even that's like, I mean,
Well, I
we're
mean,
not
like-
talking like anything really fancy. Canadians like comfort food.
ketchup
that's fine.
chips.
Oh yeah.
Those are Canadian. I don't think you have them
Proud.
down there.
I think we've imported them, but they are like Canadian import as opposed to like homegrown.
and coffee crisp chocolate bars.
Don't have those down here. Wish we had those down here.
They're so good.
That
It's
sounds
like-
amazing.
It seems like snack food is like the Canadian delicacy.
That's fair. I mean, like, fast food is kind of the American one. I mean, like, America, we're sort of in the same boat of, like, most of our traditional American food is kind of the altered versions of what other people have brought in. Like, you know, pizza, which originated in Italy, is an American food, at least in the form that it is traditionally thought of in the U.S. and, you know, most of the
Okay,
rest
let's
of the
be
world at this
honest
point.
though. What is considered pizza in America and similar dishes from Italy
Are-
are so entirely different
Yeah.
that they are not the same.
Exactly, which is what I'm kind of saying is that, like, like, American food is kind of like food that other people have made, but we have changed so much that they are literally, like, unrecognizable. You know, like, again, like, you know, our pizza is radically different than what actual, like, traditional pizza is. You know, like, the American hamburger is significantly different than, you know, like, its original, I can't remember if it's from Hungary or Germany, but, like, you know, its original Teutonic, you know, incarnation. French fries are pretty similar to chips from England, but they're, you know, they're different. Like, there's a lot of, like, weird little variations that kind of happened as everything is kind of crossed over and mass market and, like, all this weird stuff. And so that you end up with American food, which is named the exact same thing as traditional food from other countries, but is actually totally different.
I kind of always think of the mark of American food not as any particular dish, but of the fact that you guys will take any particular dish and deep fry it.
I think the true note of American food is frying it, salting it, and then slathering, like, condiments on it. You know, like, one of the truest marks of American food is how many tomato byproducts end up on it. Like, tomato sauce on pizza, tomato sauce on pasta, ketchup on fries and burgers, and, you know, all sorts of other things. Like,
Condiments are
Americans-
life, though. I love condiments.
Oh, they're great, don't get me wrong, but I think that's kind of like the biggest thing because, like,
But I mean, you guys are the only place though that like takes stuff like food that's already done, like chocolate bars or something, and then decides let's deep fry that.
Okay,
Or like the deep fried turkey.
to be fair, that's kind of a regional thing, but yeah, that's kind of the other weird thing about America is that like there is a lot of like territorial food, and you kind of have the same thing going on in places like Italy with a lot of like territorial food there, but like America has this thing where like if you are going from state to state, like obviously there are larger regions where you can see trends happening, but even state to state there's so many like weird little variations. Like obviously down the south and parts of the Midwest there's like the obsession with frying food. You get like I swear to God, this is a thing. It's so horrifying. Deep fried sticks of butter.
Oh, I was going to say
that.
that's like I think that's like the staple
That is
of
like
American
the food
cuisine.
I would least want to eat in the entire world. I hate butter.
Yeah.
And that just sounds so gross.
It sounds so bad, but and then like you have like if you're up in Maine, for instance, we have something called whoopie pies, which are
I know
You know,
that. We have
yeah.
them here also.
like they I don't know if they originated in United States, but like they're very popular in the Northeast. In the whole New England area up into Canada, as I'm sure you know. As you actually just mentioned, but like they're not actually really a thing throughout most of the U.S. Like they kind of like are a local-ish thing in the same way that like deep fried almost anything is more kind of something you get down south with the only real like deep fried foods that kind of make it up this far as being chicken mostly.
Even fried chicken though is like really American somehow.
Oh yeah, no. Fried chicken is pretty American, and it's. I mean, I don't really eat meat, but like I know from people who do that like fried chicken is kind of like this weird universally agreed upon thing. Like people are just like, you know what? I don't like fried food. Like I don't like the idea of like deep frying anything. I don't like all this stuff. Fried chicken's fine. I'll live with fried chicken.
See, like I've never had fried chicken, and I have no desire to eat fried chicken. And I always like we do have KFC here. It's a thing that exists, but to me, the concept that someone not in America would go and eat, well, not in America or Japan, would go and eat fried chicken is so weird. Like it doesn't need to be fried.
Well,
Yeah.
the joy with that is that the skin just gets like so crispy, and that's like the only good thing about it. Other than that, it's just chicken.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the whole process of deep frying. Like the weird thing about it is, realistically, like when you actually get down to it, 90% of the difference between a deep fried food and a cooked food or like a normally fried food or whatever, it's mostly just that it has that shell. It's mostly just
It's just that it's been breaded, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a breaded shell with lots of herbs and stuff in it, and like herbs and spices in it. And
well,
that,
we
like,
don't put herbs in it in Canada, but yeah.
Well, the point is like it's a breaded like layer with occasionally stuff in it that I guess traps in some of the flavor and juices of a food, but like ultimately you're basically just eating X food, but cooked with a like loaf of bread around it, and it might be tasty bread, but ultimately you're just eating X food with bread.
But the also thing we have is like you kind of touched on it, is where it's kind of cooking in itself. Is that breaded layer that gets cooked by the oils to kind of harden it, and then you have the juices kind of heaping and cooking it inside, so you end up getting like a moister kind of juicier meal. Instead of like if you have it in like a traditional oven where unless you have it prepared right, it can dry out.
Okay. No,
This is true. Chicken is difficult to cook, but I mean, slow cookers are a thing too. So
well,
the frying part is unnecessary and confusing.
I mean, I fully admit that I don't really know enough about cooking meat to, like have a really like strong, defined, personal experience with it in order to like come up with like a real opinion based on personal experience rather than just like this is weird. So I mean, like, yeah, what's Pat's saying, it actually does sound like a pretty like plausible and reasonable way of doing something that would actually have a beneficial outcome. So fair.
Well, the other part too is when you're deep frying it, you throwing it in oil. All the oil is going into the meat too, which is making it moister. But we'll have to agree to disagree on fried chicken.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm not agreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I have no strong opinion one way or the other. But
I think we can all agree it is a thing that some people may or may not like.
I think that ultimately is the one defining point of fried chicken, that it exists. I think all of this has mostly just been wrapping around the concept of fried chicken. It's a thing.
No, quick, how are we gonna make this spooky for Halloween?
All right, spooky. So, I already told you.
Deep fried Mars bars. Ooh.
Oh no!
Well, candy is Halloween, so that's
candy is Halloween. I've never heard of anyone deep frying candy. Actually, do you know if that's the thing?
That is a thing that they do in the South.
No!
It absolutely is a thing.
Oh no!
It's more of like a carnival type thing, because I think I've seen them advertised at like the Calgary Stampede.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the big rodeo event that happens in Alberta every year.
We don't have any like carnivals here, so I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, they also had like a bunch of other weird things too. Like I think they had a corn dog that had chips kind of sliced into it.
Huh.
That seems odd.
It was a little odd.
That's a little odd, but it doesn't sound entirely.
That being said, eating a corn dog is already odd. So.
Corn dogs are amazing.
But I don't know. They have always made my stomach the sickest it's ever been, so I'm just like, who would eat that? I'm afraid of them.
I think I've had them like once or twice, and it's kind of like, again, it's kind of the weird thing of being like, this is like a weird hot dog eating experience.
It's a hot dog on a stick.
So I want to put some mustard on it, but now the mustard's like just slopping all over the place. It's like cooking a hot dog, putting it in a bun, and then like turning the bun on its side and covering the bun with like mustard. It's like that feels weird.
I love that. That's great.
Oh boy.
Honestly though, yeah, when you eat a hot dog, like the best part is the white squishy bun. So it is kind of like, why would you do that? But yeah, I didn't think about it like that before. I don't consider the breading like a bun, but you're right.
I guess if you're really into like cornbread, because I know a lot of people do like cornbread. I don't understand why.
I love it.
Oh, okay, well there you go. There's someone who likes cornbread. You don't like it with cheap meat though.
No.
No, that's the difference. That is. Some people like their cornbread with cheap meat. And that is where
with ribs, I will accept, because that's how they do it at, there's a restaurant that does ribs. I can't remember what it's called, Montana's or something.
Oh.
It's an American thing, I
Montana's.
think.
All right.
But other than that, cornbread should be eaten on its own to appreciate its delicious cornness.
So you're saying that you won't like the idea for my new chain restaurant, corn ribs. You go in, you get like a little spit, and there's like this giant rack of ribs, all breaded up, all covered in cornbread, with just little wooden sticks in. You take the wooden sticks and you just sort of, eat it like a corn on the cob. I
would absolutely do that. Do not even think that I would not. Cornbread and ribs are my two favorite foods.
Well, okay, damn.
But you talking about putting stuff on little sticks?
Yes.
That immediately makes me think of fondue.
That is such a pointless way to eat.
Fondue is amazing.
But it's so time consuming.
But it's
and everything falls in the chocolate.
Yeah, but it's a really great like social way of eating. Like we used to do it every year on Christmas Eve. We'd have like all the family. We'd sit around the table. We'd like just kind of talk and chill, and we'd always do the oil fondue. So you'd have like cheese and like little salami pieces and some chicken, some beef, some mushrooms, like all kinds of just little things that you can just kind of shove in and let the oil cook it up. So you're pretty much essentially having like a little tiny deep frying party.
This is so very American of you,
I was about to say. Well, I didn't realize classic American traditions were making their way to Canada.
I don't know. It's just something that we always did, and then it wasn't until like
it's adorable.
I want to say like maybe 10 years ago we started doing like cheese and chocolate fondues at home.
So like I've never, I think I've like only like done fondue like once at like my rich uncle's party, and I was pretty young at the time and not really invested in it. Like how exactly do fondue work? Like you just like spear a little bit of food and like dip it in the cauldron, and then
there's a communal pot of sauce, and everyone has a little skewer, and you take little bits of food and dip it into the sauce. That's pretty much it.
Oh wow, that's
Well, yeah, I want to think it's a Swiss thing originally, where it was like a.
Well, isn't it French?
No, I think it was Swiss to start off, because it was like a blended cheese, and that's what you'd have like your bread cubes and all that, and that's how you'd eat, and it was.
Wikipedia says fondue is a Swiss, Italian, and French dish. So
you're both right.
That's not very helpful.
But like that's what I always knew. Like it started off with the cheese, so you'd like, and then you'd have like your little bread cubes, and you'd eat and cook that way. That way you'd have minimal dishes.
Oh boy, I love bread cubes.
And then I don't know where it ended up turning into, like using the oil for it, but that's how I always knew of fondue, and that's just how we do it for Christmas Eve.
Oh,
because it was always good that way, because you could eat less, but it was over time, so you felt like you ate more.
Huh.
So because you have to cook everything individually, because you only have like almost like these little tiny crab forks that you'd like skew like chicken or whatever food you're cooking on, and then you put it on your plate. And you'd put your like dipping sauce on.
It's
your
like
ketchup.
when you have a camp and you roast marshmallows, but not.
Except instead of a fire, it's oil, and instead of marshmallows, it's everything else.
See, I always found that mildly inconvenient, because I always wanted us to use the marshmallows to make s'mores, and the thing about s'mores is that
they're too much work.
They are. They're so delicious, but it's like, okay, I got my graham cracker, I've got my bit of chocolate, and I've got this marshmallow. Now I gotta like heat up this marshmallow so it's not too hot and it doesn't like drop off into the fire, but also isn't too hard. It doesn't like stick all over the like everything when I try and get it off. And then I put it together, and then like, I got like 2 bites of this delicious s'more snack, and then okay,
and you gotta start all over again.
Time for another one.
I've had a s'more like only once, and it's because it was just too much work, and I never bothered again.
But see, if you have like a group, you can kind of like assembly line the thing. You have somebody like cracking the chocolate, getting it ready. Somebody else like snapping the graham crackers, and then you just have somebody like always doing the marshmallows, because then you can take like the graham crackers and just kind of having it, having the marshmallow stick like stand up. You can take the crackers on either side, kind of perpendicular, so you kind of have like scrapers. And just kind of pull it up and slowly close on it.
I mean, you could, or you could just eat the marshmallows.
That's also a viable option, but then you don't have chocolate.
Well, Nani can't eat chocolate now anyway, but.
Oh, okay. Well, that sort of removes a big part of the s'more thing. So at that point, you're just eating graham crackers and marshmallows. At which point, there are so many better options.
Like, even then, you could just sit there with a bag of marshmallows and just eat the marshmallows.
That is true. That is a better option. See?
I have done that. But, I mean, they are good over the fire, too. I like to do that. But
yeah, gooey marshmallows are always nice.
They're so splooshy. It makes me happy.
Oh, boy. No, like, roasting just about anything over an open flame is actually kind of fun. Like just the feel of it, like the fire and the do it yourself attitude, the little bit of just like effort, just like, oh, I'm turning things. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that it's like there's this awkward and annoying thing where it's like when I want to sit there and like roast something over a fire, it's probably because I'm not hungry and just want to enjoy some nice relaxing menial little like thing while enjoying company and doing something with a fire. When I want to eat, I don't want to sit there for half an hour slowly rotating a hot dog on a stick.
This is why you only do it for in between meals for like snacks and stuff.
That's probably the best way of
Don't eat your whole meal over the fire.
See, this is the problem I have with some of the people who I was friends with back when I was a kid, and kind of going into the modern day. But I had friends who were big outdoorsy types. They loved camping and doing it yourself sort of things, and they loved the concept of go out into the woods. When we were younger, like go out into the woods, bring like a bag of hot dogs and marshmallows and stuff, and make your entire meal over a campfire. Like take a metal skillet, like an iron skillet, and some like eggs, and cook eggs on a tiny little campfire.
Just hearing about it is already too much work.
I know, exactly. and here's the thing: the worst part was that was when we were younger. Later on, and this is true story. We were going to a friend's. My friends Ben and Spencer were going to a cabin owned by Ben's family. Spencer, super outdoorsy type. Ben, pretty outdoorsy type, but a little bit more cautious. Me, not an outdoorsy type. Upside is, we're going to a place that is, like the place he owns, like his family owns, was like a house on an island, not like a little like uninhabited island, but like one of those island communities, like. Not like a big rich island community, but like one of the places where, there's a bunch of like seasonal houses with a small number of year-round residents, and like everyone who owns a car owns like a rusty old bucket, because the island is so small you basically can walk from end to end, in like a couple of hours at most, or like an hour or so at most. But like a small rural island with not a lot of like shops or anything.
Yeah.
So when you want to go out to the island, unless you are, one of the year-round residents who like orders food to be brought to them, on weekly runs, you bring food with you. What my friend thought was, wouldn't it be great to go into this island where we have the advantage of like a roof over our heads and like a reasonable place to like camp out and sleep, but also where we can have a fire and where there's fishing and all this stuff, and essentially kind of like semi-live off the land for a week.
Oh, God.
And so we're like, okay, well, let's buy some supplies. And he's like, okay, we'll buy some supplies, but A, limited budget. B, the idea is we will live off the land.
Why did you agree to do this?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't exactly agree to this. Like, what I did was like, I was like, okay, I'm buying some stuff for myself because I don't really eat a lot of meat. I don't want to like live off of fish and stuff. So I'm gonna buy like some food, not like a lot of food, but like at least food that will allow me to live. And he's like, okay, fine. Like I went out, I bought like a sack of potatoes, and and then as a group we bought some things, like we got some bacon, and we got some other things to kind of like help even out the meal. But he was very insistent we not buy enough food that we could all just live without having to go, hunting and stuff, because that would ruin the point. This is a
terrible idea.
I knew. And I was like, no, I'm just buying enough food that I don't care. I'm not going to follow these dumb rules. But like, one thing he insisted on was that in the midst of this, we're not buying anything we don't need. We're buying like, we want to be like super live off the landy. Insisted on buying not regular butter to help cook with and stuff, but special Irish butter, like Irish import butter. That
What?
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize this was a thing, but apparently it's a thing. Like, you can go to a grocery store, at least in the U.S., and buy Irish butter, which is butter from Ireland, and it's
Is this
more
any different
expensive.
than regular butter?
Not that I could tell. He was very insistent he was also obsessed with Ireland. Like, he's one of those people, and again, there's a lot of them in like the East Coast of the U.S. where people are kind of obsessed with Ireland. But he was,
so strange.
he was very obsessed with Ireland. He was like, this Irish butter is like the greatest thing ever. So he insisted on spending extra money on the Irish butter and not buying even less supplies in order to save the money so that he could buy Irish butter.
This is a very smart man. I hope he has achieved a lot in life.
He has a very strange life history, which I won't get into here, but like the actual events. So here's the thing, like all this is like the setup. The story itself is actually significantly shorter, because what happened was we got out to the island, and like day one we go fishing. Like I actually I don't really hunt, I don't really fish, I don't do any of this stuff, but like I decided to cast out a line and like help them fish, and I actually caught like significantly more fish than anyone else. And so for the first day or two, while I was eating my potatoes, they were living fat off of the fish I caught. And I was like, all right, I'm pretty good. I'm gonna like stay here and like do the things that I came out here to do, which is mostly a lot of like role playing and like taking long walks around the island. Spencer's like, okay, well, whatever. I'm gonna go out and
live off the land.
Yeah, live off the land. I'm gonna catch some food. I'm gonna catch some fish. It's gonna be great. You're gonna regret not, being more invested in this whole thing.
You're gonna regret not killing the nature, Duhad.
Yeah, like day 4, he's starving. Me and Ben are living off potatoes and Irish butter, and going like, "Hey Spencer, you want some potatoes?" No. Are you sure? They're pretty okay. I mean, it's better than eating nothing. I will catch my own food. Day 7, we're leaving. It's like, so you look really thin, man. Shut up.
What is it about modern humans where we have all these conveniences and easy survival? So we're like, no, I want to go out in the woods and bargain with my life.
I think people.
It's kind of the I don't want to say like the bragging rights to say that you can, but it is still kind of like a good skill to have. Like I didn't go to the extent
but you
that,
should buy backup food to have when your skills do not match up.
But you don't always have that option. Like
True,
a couple years ago, I did something similar, but we weren't able to pre-stock, and I think we only ended up being out there like alone for 3 days. We ended up lucking out. We ended up getting a single quail between two of us. So for 3 days, we had it boiling in a coffee tin, and just making soup out of it with some like leaves and stuff. So for 3 days, all we were able to like get sustenance was like this quail broth that at least had some fats in it. Until like the 3rd day, when we knew we were getting picked up, we actually ate the bird.
I mean, if you have to, that's one thing, but choosing to do it as entertainment to me still feels silly.
It's a bit on the outside. I mean, like, again, if you're into that stuff, if you have any like fear that you might end up in a situation where like this might be a life or death thing where you should have these skills, that's totally fine. But like the idea of like deliberately going out and being like, my pride dictates that I will ignore everything that our modern society has managed to accomplish over all these years in order to prove that I am a simple, salt of the earth person. I think there's a degree of we as people in this society, a lot of people specifically have this romanticized idea of the past, like this idea that there are problems with this world that seem unconquerable, and therefore, but those problems didn't necessarily exist back during a simpler time.
Which is always false.
Yeah, which is not really very, very scientific. It runs into some serious problems when you actually try and sit down and consider it. But like, there are people who look at that and they go like, the problem is, and it's like it's inductive reasoning, I believe is the term. But it's basically where you go, there was not the problem of, like uncertainty involving like job prospects or whatever during like the Middle Ages. There was no technology, like modern technology during the Middle Ages. Therefore, modern, technology is the reason why I'm having a crisis in like what job to pursue in college. Therefore, logically, if I cut all modern technology out of my life, then everything will be simple again.
That kind of logic always annoys me.
It's very, no. Like
people who choose to want to think in that way, or who want to revert things about how we do things to the way we used to do things many years ago. I'm just like, no, please stop.
Yeah. Well, again, like the problem is that it usually just ends up with people like trying to find big, obvious, reasons why things are difficult, and like trying to like connect them to like things that are easy to grasp, because most of the problems that we do face that like are these big, seemingly unconquerable issues are things that are vastly complicated. Like they are far, far too complicated to just simply look at and say, simple solution, fixed it. So therefore people look for like the next best solution, which usually comes out to being who doesn't deal with this problem, or who never had to deal with this problem, and then going, if I was in that situation, then works out. And this actually kind of ties in a little bit to what I was talking about before with that story. Not actually in the way you might imagine, but Ben, the person who wasn't as into that whole thing, ended up actually becoming kind of like this whole, not live off the land exactly, but like he's a blacksmith by trade, and he ended up basically kind of going off the grid, like not in like the survivalist, like hid out in the woods in like a cabin sort of way, but like in a he didn't make a ton of money, and he was like, I don't really feel like I can do a lot of these jobs and stuff. I don't really feel like I, can like function in like with the way society is right this like how it is right now. Therefore, I will just cut everything out of my life that would require me to, interact with these things that that I'm having trouble dealing with. So it's like, he has no electricity, he has no running water, he has no, like, anything that requires infrastructure or, like, local or, like, higher government. He basically just, like, works and then spends his paycheck buying food and storing it in, like, his hand-built shed / house / blacksmithing like forge. And like I don't really necessarily see that as a particularly great way of like dealing with problems, but like that's an attitude that people take, and like it's very bohemian.
Well, if you're doing it too as a lifestyle and you have reasons and you're comfortable with it, that I don't mind actually.
Yeah.
Like people who want to go and they want to move away from society and live in the woods and just have a little bit of a farm to sustain themselves, totally valid.
Yeah.
Totally fine. It's people who just want to, for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, people who just all of a sudden decide, I want to up out of my life and go live in the wilderness to prove I can survive. I'm like, I know this is a privileged problem. I just don't understand wrapping my mind around how it's like, I would like to experience being... I don't even know. It's just like, I want to feel threatened. I don't know.
Well, that's weird. The thing is, like, I didn't like what I was trying to get at with this story, and I think we're kind of like aiming towards the same thing here. Is like, what Ben did worked for him. Like, like he was able to work a job and do a thing that like worked for him. But the attitude of people who are like, I'm not actually like dedicated enough to do this crazy thing and live this crazy lifestyle, but man, briefly visiting that lifestyle looked so simple, and for the day or two that I did it, it seemed to be working pretty well. Therefore, if I just kept doing this for an extended period of time, life would be perfect.
Yes, and the thing too is that people who want to do that kind of thing, or you get people too who think that everyone should be doing that thing and everyone should just be self-sustainable and pulling their own weight, and that is a cute idea, but holy shit, society would fall apart so fast.
Yeah, no.
Like, there's so many people who are totally worthy human beings who deserve to be on this earth, but could not survive that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. Again, it's the kind of problem is, like, there is a certain degree of, like, privilege that comes with being able to do that. Like, having the time to practice those skills comfortably without risk of, like, you know, losing everything. Having the physical and mental health to be able to survive doing that. And like, again, like, all of that before having the mentality that allows you to essentially say, okay, I'm going to do this, like, live this radical lifestyle for the rest of my life. Go and do it. Like, rad. But, like, when those people who can do that, or even who are contemplating that, then go, like, why doesn't everyone do this? Like, isn't it such a better way of life? It ignores the fact that, like, I don't think most of us, and Pad is probably the only person in this call who would actually have a chance of surviving.
Patty can do it.
Oh no! Oh no! I don't think I'd be able to survive. I like my internet too much.
Fair point. But like, you know, most of us would run into problems. Would run into problems pretty fast, and like with the human population at the size it is right now, like, we kind of rely upon the fact that people can do, like at this point, like at a certain time in the past, it totally would make sense for like an entire society to exist based on personal, like each and every person like farming and hunting on a small plot of land that would allow them to self-sustain. The thing is, we have so many people that if we couldn't stack them on top of each other in cities and feed them using massive like farms that are designed to feed hundreds of people on space that used to only feed like a small family, we would collapse so fast. Like
we would
like, we do not have the land, the arable land, like the farmable land to like have everyone be a self-sustaining farmer.
Too, and when you're saying too, like, there might have been a point in history that it would be valid to live that way. People tend to get the idea that there was a point in time where humans just everyone self-sustained on farms and whatever, but there's always been community in the way that humans have, like, you would have, sure, young people who are healthy-bodied and stuff can work the farm, but you don't just throw your elders into the woods to freeze or something.
Yeah, well, no,
like humans form little communities and caretake each other. Not everyone goes and survives in the woods, sort of.
No,
nonsense.
like what is it? In the I can't even remember the time period, but they're like the hunter-gatherer society has always kind of been a thing.
Yeah.
Like, you always have the people that go out and hunt, and then you have the people that gather. And then you have, like, you know, the people that do, the tending.
Yeah, they tend things. They care for the weak and sick and teach the children and, you know, tell stories and help maintain religious practices. Like almost no society of human being. Like, one of the great strengths of the human race is our ability to specialize and, like, care for one another and do these things and, like, not have to have every single, like, we are communal animals. Like, we are by nature communal. We are so good at finding something for everyone to do that in some way benefits everyone else. Like, it's incredible. And we've never had this, like, there's never been a point in human history like like recorded wise anyway, where like every single human being was a lone wolf wandering around, like scratching out a farm, maybe taking care of just their immediate family.
Like even I think within like the Neanderthal days, it was still like communities.
Yeah.
So it's never really been, a solo adventure, because even in like the rest of the animal kingdom, like it's very, very rare that you'll find like single beings just kind of doing their thing.
Yeah, and when you do have those, they tend to be like very lower life form, like in terms of like brains and stuff. Like you tend to get like things like fish. Like fish do that. Like not all fish, obviously. A lot of fish are, most fish are, kind of like communal to a degree. But like things like sharks or certain some whales. Again, not even all whales, but like some whales. Some sharks,
I
not
think
all
even
sharks.
whales and sharks are mostly
Yeah, a lot of them are
like school animals.
Yeah, like but you'll get some like that's the thing. Like even when you're dealing with like the like those species, it's
I
like
guess all species
some.
have that one jerk who wants to go live off the land.
Yeah.
I imagine that like in the great vast ocean, like everyone just kind of rolls their eyes when the great white swims in, goes, "Hey, everybody. Just got back from swimming alone, taking care of myself, eating what I find, self-sufficient, off the grid, no school. That's right. Don't need any of
Steve,
that."
we get it. You're a
The
survivalist.
idea of that one survivalist asshole existing even in animals. I'm gonna be laughing about that for a week.
I'm imagining like back in the time when like there was like a lot of like dolphins dying and like tuna traps and stuff. There's just like whenever the dolphins were getting together to discuss the problem, there'd always be like the one dolphin that just swim in and be like, "Yeah, so I've just been swimming off on my own. You noticed I'm okay. It's because you know what? You live off on your own, never have to deal with that problem. We're always better off that way. How we should live." Oh dear. Well, that. I think we've thoroughly explored this very unusual topic. So I want to thank everyone
there'd
for.
be more ways to take it, but we are running time.
Yeah,
Well, the unusual always have like the better talking points.
I agree. So anyway, I hope that you all join us some point before the end of next time, which hopefully will be before the end of October, and we will have a proper like fully spooky show, and like I don't know, like put like copy paste pumpkins all over the title card or something.
Oh, I'll draw a Halloween one if you want.
Oh yay! Yes. That.
You have to tell me what costumes you want to wear.
Okay,
that's
well,
all.
Just put pumpkins on everybody's head.
We'll discuss fun costumes. We'll discuss fun costumes. But join us next time for the Halloween Spooktacular as part of the our delightful Halloween fun. Till then, I have been Duhad. Prancer. Bad Ghoul.
I forgot what my name was.
Padghoul.
Padghoul.
The Naughty
Sorry. Naughty Mancer, yay!
Yay! And as I said, we'll see you next time.